Well, hello and welcome into another edition of 8Sports Nightcap here on WRSCnow.com, on the WRSC Plus app, and everywhere else that you've been watching the show. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you've not tuned into an episode of the Nightcap before, it's a little interview show where we kind of sit down and talk with different folks from around the community or things that are happening around the world of sports. And obviously, as you see here on our screen, we got a very special guest this week as Austin Dillon took the time to sit down and talk with us. You might remember Austin Dillon from last year's NASCAR race, right? It took not just the Richmond market by storm, but the sports nation by storm as he I don't want to say wrecked two cars to get to the finish line, but he did make contact with two cars to cross the finish line first and secure his first win in what was close to 100 races previous. And it's the last time he won, and he was here at Richmond. But before he did, get into that altercation with the two vehicles. He was leading before a yellow flag came out. So he felt vindicated in the win, was still proud about himself. And we'll get into that in that interview with Austin Dillon as he sat down to talk with us to kind of give you an overview of what's happening here the next couple of days, I should say. Tomorrow out at Richmond Raceway, the Modifies take center stage for a Thursday night showdown. Then on Friday night, the Craftsman Truck Series has their race, the EERO 250. And then, of course, Saturday night racing is back at Richmond Raceway for the Cookout 400. First time that they'll be racing back on Saturday night since the 2021 season. And of course, this is just the second time ever that there's just one race at Richmond Raceway on the schedule. Of course, we didn't have our spring race, so I think the excitement for NASCAR to be back after a full year, which is something that was pretty unprecedented in itself. And then the fact that it's on Saturday night again, which, obviously gives fans an opportunity to, tailgate and wake up Sunday, get back home, and then go to work on Monday. It's not really a situation you can have anywhere else with most races, of course, being on Sunday. And so I think there's a lot of excitement about this year's race. And I know that Austin Dillon's looking forward to it. The other drivers we've talked with, last week we had Ty Gibbs. He was excited about it. Ricky Stenhouse came in studio and talked about how much he loves Richmond. I think it's a track that a lot of drivers like. It's kind of a combination of, it's a little bit of a larger track than like Bristol per se in terms of short track racing, but of course not as big as, like a Charlotte, a mile and a half track. So let's go ahead and hop into this interview with Austin Dillon to kind of give you a little bit of the backstory. Here's a look at that race finish that we had between Austin Dillon, got in contact with Joey Logano as well as Denny Hamlin, and was able to secure the checkered flag in what was just a dramatic scene at Richmond Raceway. So let's take the time now to chat with the winner of the 2024 Cookout 400, Austin Dillon. Driver of the number 3 car, Austin Dillon, the 2024 Cookout 400 winner, took the time to sit down with us today. Austin, thanks so much for sitting down with me and chatting a little NASCAR with us.
Yeah, no problem. I'm happy to be on and looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah. I think we'll start with what probably most folks around here are know you best for, which was, of course, the win last year at Richmond Raceway. Your first win at Richmond Raceway. Kind of, if you will, take me through, those emotions of last year and getting in victory lane and coming out on top after having a really successful day here.
Yeah, it was Richmond to me it was kind of like an emotional race, to tell you the truth. Starting back from when I first came to Richmond, one of my first Xfinity races was at Richmond, and it was a place that I really struggled at for a very long time. And over the years, started understanding patterns about the track and how I needed to approach that track, and got to where we were a consistent top 10 team at Richmond, where we could go there and run inside the top 10, run anywhere from 6th to the top 5. And had a couple shots to win that we threw away. One in particular was a speeding on pit road penalty. Came all the way back from the back to, I think, 5th or 6th. So we were really good in practice last year, fired off with some speed, qualified in the top 10, I think 6th. Started the race, and we were just the top 8 car, I think, ran right there, top 8, top 6, most of the day. As the transition of the track started to change, we got better and better, made good adjustments, and started, moving our way forward in the field. No mistakes were made. Um, that last run, green flag run, we were really good and was able to take the lead from Denny and drive out to a 3-second lead, past Joey on the way to pass Denny, and got out there and 2 to go. Then the caution flies and everything breaks loose at that point. Definitely felt like it was our one shot there before the playoffs to get the win. So super aggressive, was able to get it done, and NASCAR didn't love it enough to let us stay in the playoffs, but brought home the trophy, and that was huge for RCR.
Yeah, obviously bringing home the trophy and, getting another win under your belt was really exciting. But, kind of, now that we've had some time to, let this thing simmer and sit for a while, what were kind of your emotions when you find out that next NASCAR was going to let you stay into the playoffs? And, was there, rebuttal, or is it something that maybe you kind of understood where they were coming from, or how did that kind of sit with you?
Well, it didn't sit well. Obviously, we went through a full trial multiple times, 2 times, as far as we could take it. Um, the uh, the the hardest part. I mean, there could be a 30 for 30 episode just on the end of the Richmond race, right? Like
Yeah.
it really could, because I went through, you know, the media center after the media center, starting to hear rumblings of the way people were talking about it. And I know that NASCAR listens, I feel like, to the media. And so when they get a certain way, you start to feel like, oh, well, this could get interesting. There were things that led up to the decision that we felt were unfair, where people had kind of got to NASCAR and gave their opinions and didn't really go over the data that we went over. Then we got in the room with them, showed them our side of the case, and felt like we built an amazing case that I would still feel like should have won the argument. Um, and if it was in front of an actual jury in a court case, I feel like we would have done very good. But, it's over and past and gone. I've moved on from all that. I don't want to be in one of those situations again where we have to go to you know, NASCAR court. Uh, and the big thing about it is, in the end, I'm still proud of that win, and it's one of my favorite wins, because my last win, my daughter and my son got to go to victory lane, and that was one of the big things, because you just never know when you'll get to go to victory lane again, and would love to try and go protect a strong finish this weekend. And man, I can't wait to get there. It's a fun track for me.
Had you been to the NASCAR court before? Is it nerve-wracking? Does it feel like there's a lot of pressure, or is it just kind of feel like a formality?
Well, I was prepared. I felt really good with the information we had, and I wrote down a full letter explaining my side of the story from the incident. Um, I mean, I was very detailed in everything that I went through during that process, and that's all I did was read my letter to them, and I felt like it was fair. But sometimes they have to make a call, and I think the biggest thing was they were making it wasn't like they were trying to make the people that were deciding the outcome, like they were making the decision for the sport.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that they were ruling on the incident, like right what happened that weekend. They were saying, if we don't set precedents moving forward, that this could happen. And in past, if you use the Ross Chastain watermelon move,
Yep.
well, this happened this time. Moving forward, this is how we're going to handle it. So that was kind of frustrating, but it doesn't matter. I'm way past that. We'll make that 30 for 30 episode one day.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of talk about, getting to, victory lane. You've managed to do it a few times now in your, what is now a pretty long career at the NASCAR Cup Series level. Do you have a favorite win? A favorite one that comes to mind? Obviously, you have the 500, but is there maybe even one in the Xfinity Series that meant a lot to you?
Man, Richmond truly was probably my favorite, because as I'm racing Denny, who I look at as probably one of the best short track racers ever do it, like I was almost getting emotional in the car that we were even in that situation to win.
Really?
Like, dang, like it felt good and justified, like from a career standpoint, that I could race at what used to be one of my worst tracks, turn it into one of my best tracks, and really just felt like I was doing a better job at that point of driving my car and putting myself in good positions. And I mean, literally to the point I had to get it together when we got out front, because I was like, man, this is our race. And so that was cool because we just haven't had that many opportunities to do that, to go out and dominate and to take the lead and drive away. So yeah, it was unfortunate that Ricky wrecked. Um, I don't know. Anyways, a lot of things went down in that race that were unfortunate, but a lot of good too.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I mean that meant a lot to me because of the people I had to drive by and who I think that are very good at what they do.
Um, not all of our viewers are obviously completely aware of the ins and outs of NASCAR and the differences between this track and that track and this track. Could you kind of give me a synopsis of, what's it take to be a good short track racer versus someone that can excel at super speedways, and how is that different? And, where does a, mile and a half track kind of fit into a skill set?
Um, yeah, I think from short track, super speedway to road course, we do all disciplines of racing that are out there in NASCAR. And short track racing is, to me, it's about tire management and being able to be creative with your shapes that you make in the corner. Uh, but that's what I like about short track racing. You can find little things about the track that you might be able to find just a little more grip than the next guy.
Mhm.
Um, I always like looking for those things and the uniqueness of changing your line and trying things differently.
Um, Going back to did you see after you won the 500 kind of your um career change in terms of the interest in you and the amount of media requests you got, and everything that kind of follows along, being a Daytona 500 winner?
For sure. I mean, every time you go anywhere, you're announced as a Daytona 500 champion, so it definitely carries some weight there, and for the media um, portion of it. But um, yeah, I mean, it's a huge win, and I'll never forget it, to be a part of it, and having my family there. It definitely is special. And I've been close to getting a second one. I'd love to get a second one, but um, in the end, what Scotty Scheffler said in the interview about golf, it's similar in a lot of ways. What he's saying, like, I got what he was getting at. It was pretty cool, actually, his interview, I thought.
And you've been rocking the number 3 for a while now. Um, Back when you were a much younger self and a much younger driver, and you got that privilege to rock the number 3 out on the track, what was those pressures like, and did you feel pressure? And then now today, 10 plus years later, doing it as well, is it still something that's special to you, to with that number, meaning so much to the sport, your grandfather, as well as Dale Earnhardt?
For sure. I think that early on, I didn't realize it because we had so much success in the truck and the Xfinity series. I was just confident and I was going to do the same thing in the cup level. When you get there, you learn real quick that it's just a whole nother level. It's the best of the best in the world. And it took some time to settle in. Uh, but I feel very comfortable in my skin and what I'm doing out on the track and for the people I'm doing it for. I think you start to realize who you're doing it for and why you do it, and the love of the game. Start to fall in love with the process a little bit and the grind of it. That's what keeps you going.
And just a couple fun ones here to end with. Do you have any, pre-race routines or superstitions that you do, meals or anything you do the morning of a race to kind of get you in the right mindset?
I definitely like this one sandwich I've been eating. It's like grilled chicken, mushrooms, cheese, and peppers on sourdough. Been going with that lately a lot. But then, just praying with my wife and kids before the race. Ace Man's been saying a lot of prayers, which is cool. Watching him grow up and having him at the car.
And do you have a ritual in terms of do you do a lot of sim racing the week of races, or at this point, you've been to so many tracks so many times you don't even bother with it?
Well, on Tuesdays, that's my sim session at Chevrolet around three to six or whatever. So Tuesdays is usually my day. It swaps up, but I have a session that's GM, and that's what we go do.
And uh, final question for you: coming to Richmond, I've done it a few times now. Is there a favorite restaurant or activity that you do specific to the Richmond area at all?
Trying to think, what did we do at Richmond last time? Actually, I think we usually just chill at the bus at Richmond, eat. Oh no, I go to Short Pump,
Okay,
and there's a couple places to eat over there. We went to the mall during the day a couple times. There's some good spots over there. So yeah.
perfect. All right, awesome. Well, good luck this Saturday. Can't wait to see it on the track.
All right, that was the winner of the 2024 Cookout 400. Thanks so much to RCR as well as Austin Dillon for taking the time to chat with me. I actually talked with him on yesterday as well, and then I sat down with him again this morning. So it was like back-to-back days. We just started making it our morning routine, a little conversation with Austin Dillon to start my day. But no, thanks so much to Austin for taking the time. Of course, he kind of talked about it, right? That was a big win for him, and a lot of the discourse, whether it was online or on ESPN or on racing podcasts, was didn't really paint him in a great light in that. He kind of talked about the fact that they had to go to NASCAR court about it, and he thought they had a good argument, and he was leading with 2 to go when the caution came out with a big lead, and so he thinks that he deserves to have that win. I think I'm kind of in agreement with him, and then of course he didn't make the playoffs last year due to a NASCAR decision. So very interesting things that happened last Cookout 400, caught the world by storm. I think short track racing, these kind of things can happen, and I think that's why we're so excited about this upcoming weekend. Again, be sure to stay tuned in to 8Sports throughout the weekend. I'll be out at the modified race tomorrow night. We'll have full coverage from the Truck Series race on Friday night, and then, of course, the Cookout 400 on Saturday night. We'll have a full recap at 11, and then earlier in the day, we'll also have some live reports and be sharing everything NASCAR here on 8Sports. Be sure to follow along online on both the website as well as my social media at Nolan Knight Jr. Madeline Frentrish will be out there this week as well, so be sure to give her a follow as well if you kind of want to stay up to date with everything that's going on with NASCAR, taking the trip back to Richmond Raceway for the first time in 2025. But that's going to wrap things up for another edition of the Nightcap. We'll see you next week as we're joined by another very special guest. Can't wait to see what they're going to have to say, so be sure to stay tuned in to find out who that's going to be. And that's going to wrap up this week's episode. Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you tonight at 11.